I enlisted in the Massachusetts State Police January 10th, 1972, and I retired on November 18th, 2008. I was mostly a road trooper with some units, 55 teams, et cetera. But for the most part, I was a road trooper for my career. Yeah, the first memory of the MSP was my motivation to enlist. When I was coming back from serving in Vietnam in the summer of 1969, I was at Logan Airport in my Marine Corps uniform and was trying to hail a taxi. No one would stop. The cabbies and other people were giving me a look of disgust. A big state trooper came over to me and signaled the next taxi in line to stop. He was around 6'3", and he personified a law enforcement officer. He told the cabbie to take me home and not to charge me. I thanked him for his kindness. He just nodded and left. On my ride home to Dorchester, I said to myself, I am going to be a Mass State Trooper. 4 years later, I was stationed at SP Logan Airport, Troop F. The state police were a different breed. They had to live in the barracks, and the organization was quasi-military. They had a reputation for being tough and squared away. It wasn't a job, but a lifestyle. I joined the Marines for the same reasons. I expected to live in the barracks and retire at age 50, keeping with tradition. Graduated with the 56th RTT. I entered the academy in Framingham on January 10th, 1972. I graduated on April 29th, 1972. I have great memories of the State Police Academy, too many to mention. Compared to Parris Island, USMC boot camp in 1967, the academy was a cakewalk. I enjoyed it. The drill instructors were squared away, efficacious, and somewhat funny. Most of them were former Marines. For the non-veteran trainees, the SPA was not a cakewalk. It was stress training, physically and mentally demanding. We had to take notes in all the classes and type them on the weekends. If you got 25 gigs during the training, you would be discharged. We got sworn in early because of prison riots. We got sent to Norfolk Prison in the old blue state police bus. I didn't think it was going to make it there. On graduation day, the 56th RTT had half of the trainees that had started on January 10th. At this time, the MSP was all males, ages 21 to 50. Mandatory retirement was 50. I respected tradition and the rite of passage, but the job was going through political changes that would impact tradition and the rite of passage. Yeah, my first assignment was SP Linfield Troop A. It was a great place to break in. Being on Route 1, I had the opportunity to do criminal and motor vehicle investigations. Got my first arrest 5 minutes after leaving the barracks with Trooper Dave Brosnan. Subject went to the J.B. Thomas Hospital emergency room and then to the Peabody police lockups. Assaulting a trooper in those days was a guarantee that the defendant would not have a good day and would remember his faux pas. SP Linfield did not have any cells. It was a White House rented by the Commonwealth at the behest of the Route 1 Business Owners Association in 1957. It closed in 1982. I charged that subject with A and B on a police officer trespassing. I did prosecute some minor motor vehicle cases myself in Peabody District Court. There was no overtime or court time on the job then. Paid details were $6 an hour, and you had to use your PC. MSP didn't make much money, but it was a big deal to be a Massachusetts state trooper in the early 70s and before. I didn't go on the MSP to make money. I did it because I wanted to be a trooper and share the legacy of the finest police force in the country at that time. I had no previous law enforcement experience. I enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps in 1967 after graduating from Boston Latin School and went to Vietnam, assigned to a line infantry unit, India Company, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment. I was there in 1968, 1969. After getting off active duty, I remained in the reserves. I eventually retired from the Marine Corps Reserve as a lieutenant colonel in 1998. I served in Desert Storm in 1991, as well as in Vietnam. I took the MSP entrance examination in 1970. I got a letter to report to the State Police Academy on January 10th, 1972. The rest is history. I went to Northeastern University in Boston, earning a BS in law enforcement, then to American International College, AIC, in Springfield to earn a Master's of Science in Criminal Justice, and finally to Harvard University Graduate School of Education in Cambridge for additional graduate degrees. My plan for the future was to be the dean of the law enforcement program at Northeastern University after I retired from the Mass State Police.
You talked about some interesting incidents that you were involved with.
On July 31st, 1973, in the late morning, Delta Flight 723 strikes a concrete seawall amid heavy ground fog at the end of runway 4 right. The collision tears some of the fuselage and the plane slams into the ground, breaking apart and bursting into flames, with 89 souls on board. It was a Phase 5 condition, the most serious at Logan. The NTSB investigator said, "I've never seen an accident where a plane has been so thoroughly disintegrated." Trooper Gene Sloyce and I were the first cruisers to respond to the scene. The fog was so thick that you could hardly see. The runway resembled a giant pizza with burning bodies and kids' toys on fire. I saw a lot of death and destruction in Vietnam War, but nothing like this. 6 people were still alive, and they were rushed to the Mass General Hospital, but they later died. The only person to survive the crash was Air Force Sergeant Leopold Chouinard. He later died on December 11th from 3rd-degree burns on his body from the crash. State Police General Headquarters sent out messages to the troops to send all available troopers to Logan Airport. Boston Police, Boston Fire, Massport Police, Massport Fire, and other surrounding agencies responded as well. For most of the day, we put corpses into body bags and transported them to the Southern Mortuary on Albany Street at the Boston City Hospital. We had station wagon cruisers then, with stretchers in the back at Troop F, and the stink from the bodies would never subside. Massport had to turn in the cruisers because no one could drive them with the horrendous smell. It was the smell of death. It was now around 2200, and Staff Sergeant Bob Wills advised me that Captain Herzog, the Troop F commander, wanted me to report to the Southern Mortuary to assist the FBI disaster team. I spent the night assisting them. They were just outstanding. The finest FBI unit that I've ever seen. I get back to the airport station in the new tower around 0830 on August 1st. The old station was in the small tower before the new one was built. I went over to the quarters to get some sleep. The quarters were on the second floor of the Massport Fire Station, near the runways. It was where troopers stayed and slept in between shifts. It had two-man rooms with lockers, showers, etc. I had worked the last 24 hours. Again, there was no overtime on the job at this point. The old troopers used to say it was for the church. Later in 1973, overtime and court time were introduced. My career was a roller coaster ride, ups and downs. With 24 transfers, I saw Massachusetts through a windshield. From the New Hampshire border to the Connecticut border to the New York border, I saw it all. From covering fatal crashes to chasing and arresting bad guys, there was never a dull moment. When I was assigned to the Troop E-55 team, we had 12-hour shifts. I had breakfast with New York troopers at the State Line Diner in West Stockbridge, and supper in Beacon Park, Brighton. The road trooper in the uniform branch of the state police is the hardest position and the most rewarding. It is the backbone of the state police. I had opportunities to go into the Bureau of Investigative Services, but I declined. I liked the road. My cruiser was my office. I battled with weather like the blizzard of 1978, for instance. I was stationed at Topsfield Barracks, A2. I remember that the corporal called me at home, told me to report early for the midnight shift, read the approaching storm. I didn't return home for 5 days. During that time, I was driving up Route 1, northbound lane, about a half a mile south of the barracks, when my cruiser got stuck in the snow. I had to get out and started walking to the station in a blizzard. There was countless feet of snow on the ground, and the wind was blowing like a hurricane. Civilian neighbor in a snowmobile came by and took me to the barracks. We use the term barracks loosely today. Barracks was the appropriate word when the troopers were still living in the buildings. Stations would be a better term today. On the second day of the blizzard, nobody could get out on patrol. Too much snow. Luckily for us, the old black stove in the station still worked. A relic of days gone by when the cook served meals to the troopers living in the barracks. Trooper Bud Riley, who was assigned to the CPAC unit on the second deck, did the cooking. Neighbors on snowmobiles brought food to the barracks. It was surreal and heartwarming. My advice for people entering the profession today is to be honest, dedicated, and treat good people like you would like to be treated. It is a much harder job today than 50 years ago, with insane politics, cameras, and lack of respect for law enforcement. Stay in shape, wear the uniform with pride. Being squared away is a deterrent to someone who is possibly looking to harm you. The mantra still is, troopers ride alone. I enjoyed my many experiences and made great lifelong friends on the job. I am very thankful for these opportunities. For the first year on the job, I did not want to go home on the SDO day. SDO means that day off. I was having so much fun helping people and arresting muffs. It was an absolute honor and pleasure to serve the citizens of the Commonwealth as a Massachusetts State Police trooper. My career was an incredible journey for many decades. I appreciated and respected the troopers that I worked with for their dedication and friendship. I'll end this narration by saying, figures H, letters, letters. This is how we ended our teletype messages back in the day before computers and cell phones. Signal 4.